take 2, but of course you wouldn't know that. Hello friends, welcome to the rain if you are enjoying the summer where you are, but welcome to more rain if you are also experiencing the monsoon season, as I know all my friends in India currently are, in parts anyway. India's a very big country, subcontinent. So yes, I've had a couple of technical difficulties on you have to use an app. You can't just use an external microphone with a phone camera for some reason. So you have to use an app. I don't like using apps because it just seems an additional complication, and I like everything to be simple. But although everything should be, sorry, now looking at the time just to check. Although everything should be as simple as possible, it should not be too simple. So I must always stress that. Well, I like to try and simplify the teachings of the Buddha, although they're already simple, but how we can practice it in our everyday lives. One mustn't make it too simple and then, well, like not using an app, render them ineffective. So it's something to bear in mind. Now, I began the video yesterday talk saying that this rainy season, monsoon time ordinarily, this time of year would be when us monks retreat to a monastery for our 3 months Vasa, it's called, the rainy season, monsoon season time, when we spend 3 months in the same monastery. But this year that is beginning in August, the full moon of August. The way the lunar calendar works is it's shuffled forward this year to the following month. But that doesn't mean the rain knows that, so it is still raining now. What I'll be doing in the Vasa, I'm not sure. Continuing with this process, I think, probably, of making a few talks each week and a guided meditation on Friday for you to listen to, watch whenever. It's not critical when, and it's not always critical you watch them all the way through, of course. This is entirely your choice. What I mean is, one doesn't necessarily lead to the other, but like some, I don't know, mini-series or something like that you may be familiar with, box sets, there's usually an underlying common theme, a thread of day-to-day's goings on. So sometimes, occasionally, like now, I like to just tie up some loose ends where I've said something in the previous talk. Like, I didn't continue after saying this would normally be the Vasa time. I didn't actually then ever say, because I had to look back at the video to check it was working because of these problems I've had. I didn't ever say that it isn't the Vasa yet. It begins in August. But come August, full moon of August, I will not be able to go anywhere. I wasn't intending to, anyway, but I can be fairly certain, apart from for emergencies, and then it would be only for no more than 6 nights, so really no more than a week in its entirety. One has to return on the 7th day to your monastery, whatever the emergency. Otherwise you lose that Vasa in your years as a monk. So our years as our monk, our birthdays, are determined by how many Vasas you've spent. And if you're absent for one, or you don't stay in one place for one, it doesn't count. That's not why it's so important, but it's part of the Vinaya and the discipline of monastic life. So yes, there was that. Also in the previous talk to that, I was talking of confession. I forgot a very important thing. I was explaining, somebody asked about, do we have confession like in Christianity? And I explained that yes, you as lay people confess to a monk or the Sangha, and we as monks confess to each other and to our senior monks quite regularly, but mainly for monks at our 15-day recitation of the rules prior to that. The Patimokkha full moon and new moon of each month, so every 15 days. We formally declare anything we've done through acts of body, speech and mind, and make a determination, rather than asking for forgiveness, that we won't do it again. And whom we're confessing to just says, well, have you seen the errors of your ways, kind of thing? And you say yes. He says, well, good, then make it, then, you know, don't do it. I'm confident that you will not do that again, is the reply. But what I forgot, which is quite critical, is then that monk will also say, I would like you to forgive me too. They always, when you ask even a lay person asking a very, very senior monk for forgiveness, when you bow down, you say Dwarate Enakatam Sabama Paradam, you say this special Pali chant of confession. He will also ask for your forgiveness of him too. It's a mutual exchange. It's not like priest behind a curtain and then giving you a punishment, you going away and hoping God gives you absolution. No, this is the difference. So there's that. That was one more. That was another loose end. I have made a couple of notes. I'm not normally a note-making person. Hence they're not very organised. So yes, I hope to continue. I am having problems with the internet, but as long as I upload the video overnight and as long as it doesn't cut off during the night, it's okay. Because it takes about 12 hours. So of course if it cuts off after about 6 hours, sometimes it has to carry on from where you when you restart it, or you have to start all over again. And it's not too much of a problem, but it's something I don't really need to have the bother of. But so far so good. And I have a kind of a routine, so it's not something I have to think about. And that leads me on to routine. I've been asked about my schedule, and I did mention again another loose end. It's a rainy afternoon. I'm in my kuti. It's not my normal time for a talk, so I'm just tying up some loose ends. So on these notes here, somewhere, is my schedule. I can remember it because it's very simple, but I want to get it absolutely correct so there's not another loose end created. And I suppose the idea is really, and this is what I'm going to go on to talk about in a minute, is you too can build in your practice routinely into your ordinary routine, even going so far as to diarise it and set alarms or notifications, whatever you do these days, to remind yourselves about certain things. But I'll talk about that in a minute. Hopefully I won't need to call it another loose end later on. But ordinarily speaking, I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. It says 2 here, 2 o'clock, 2 a.m. But what happens is I don't set an alarm. I naturally wake up between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. And as soon as I wake up, I get up. I sleep literally here on this floor, so there's nothing much to do. I don't have to make the bed or have anything, because my robe is my sheets and my undersheet. I just wrap this around lengthways. I can make a sleeping bag out of it and sleep with that, that's all. And my sangati, I rest my head on. This is like a pillow. So very simple. Like all things in this life, I wake up, let's say, about 3. The monastery bell rings at 4. So for a week or so I was doing that job because the Samanera was away. But now he's back. That's usually done by the most junior monk, I think. Albeit the most senior monk took over after a couple of days. It wasn't quite a week, so maybe I was not doing it very well. It did kind of interrupt my morning though, and maybe he just liked the opportunity to do it. Or he was being kind, most likely, the case. And not obvious thing the thing that obviously comes to mind, that people are just being kind. we tend to always assume you've done something wrong or there's a problem. It's natural, I suppose, to think that way. So the bell rings at 4. So I have an hour when I first wake, when I'm, and in fact I don't really need to go anywhere until 5. So I'm usually able to wake, maybe get a cup of coffee. I have to walk to the sala to get hot water and coffee. So I'll normally just get a cup of coffee, but sit and meditate for as long as I can, really. But at 5 I need to go down to the sala, 5 a.m. and that's where I wash my the abbot here, so my senior monk's alms bowl, pindapat, this thing. When I say wash, we just rinse it out with some water, tip the water out and make sure it's all there ready for him when he comes to collect it to go on alms round. And my own, I do the same. It takes literally a couple of minutes. If there's some little leaves or something on the steps, I might just sweep them off with the little indoor brush. Other than that, I put my robe on and at 5:30 head off with bare feet, walking. It's there and back about 6 kilometres, so what, 3 miles, something like that. So 1 mile there, 1 mile back. We don't walk back, we get a lift back, and we have a lot of things, a lot of food to bring back with us. So, but we walk down there. It's a very stony, horrible gravel road. It hurts your feet at first few weeks, probably even month or so. I really did suffer with this walking. But now I don't notice it, I've got used to it. In the last few days it's been absolutely pouring with rain, and but we do and are allowed to take an umbrella. And although it's awkward keeping your robes on the way we wear them, and carrying your bowl the way we have to carry it, and holding the umbrella, it's manageable. You have to be mindful. And all of these things, you may think, well, there's a better way, I could do it this way. No, we do it this way. There's a reason behind everything. And then also we all look the same throughout the country. Every monk is doing everything the same way. Neat and tidy, simple, simplicity. And it works. Keeps you dry, keeps you mindful on your alms round. This process it's a beautiful experience. We walk into before the village, before the little, small town. There's a little villagey part. We walk through there, stop, get some food, and then on into the town, to the end of this road, a road down one side of the street, and then come down the other side of the street. And many people put a spoonful of rice in our bowls. Just the 3 monks and the samanera, and an assistant comes along taking the bags. Each monk takes the senior monk in front of him's bags or any additional food that doesn't go into the bowl from him, and then passes it back. And then the assistant will come and collect any surplus, so we don't get too. If we don't have an assistant, it can be very difficult, but we just have to manage, and we between us share the load. But there's only the 3 monks and the samanera, so then we return, and we're back to the sala where I began at 5 at about 6:45. So how long is that? So about an hour and 15 minutes, that's all. That doesn't seem right, but that is right. That's the way. Of course, we get a lift back in a truck, usually a little truck, or somebody brings a largish car for us to get in and have all the stuff in the back. After we return at 6:45, then we go back to our kutis. I usually then sweep my path. I sweep my senior monk, the Ajahn, the abbot here, his path down just to where the sala is. So it's all nice and respectable and free from leaves. And the little area in front of the sala. And there's no time for any more. That I do just slowly, and if it's dry. Today it was raining, so I didn't do that. And then we're back in the sala by no later than 7:30 a.m. for Anumodana, which is when the lay people whom are there offer the food. If they've brought any additional food, But all the food we've collected on Alms Round has been put into communal, all the rice goes into one big communal pot, and then the people staying here, lay people, including the Meis that live here, help put it all together, bring it out on trays and offer it. And this takes a little while, and we give the blessing just thanking them for that meal. Before we give the blessing, the senior monk here normally gives a Dharma talk, which is about half an hour or 40 minutes. So our food is offered, we put it in, we take it in the line in our order, put it in our bowls, then we have to sit there. And remember, we haven't eaten for 24 hours, so I don't know about the other monks, but I'm hungry then, very hungry. But I have to then listen to a Thai Dharma talk for 30-40 minutes, which I don't understand. I'm picking out a very odd word occasionally now, but that's it. It's nothing I could put together. So really I just sit and meditate for 30 to 40 minutes and think of hunger and how that feels. To be hungry, to having not eaten for 24 hours. And this meal I'm about to eat will be the only meal I have for the next 24 hours. Which is predominantly my thoughts, if I think at all. So I try to not think so much about that and just watch the breath and meditate. The time flies very quickly, 30-40 minutes, and before we know it we're giving the blessing, and the lay people take their food off to the lay people's place, the Meis take their food off to the Meis place, and then we sit and we eat in silence, no speaking, we just eat. I think you can take as long as you like, but it takes normally no more than, I suppose, 40 minutes to eat. And by by 8:30, so the blessing and what have you take from 7:30 to 8, by 8:30 we've finished, we go and clean our bowl, and then return to our kuti, 9 o'clock-ish, at the very latest, 9 o'clock, back to my kuti. Then I have 5 hours. I have nothing to do. I normally have to rinse some item of my robes. I have these 3 robes, so one item I will rinse or wash, not this main robe, but the other bits and bobs that get wet or get dirty, my extra cloths, which are the cloth we put over our laps when we're eating, or our little handkerchief thing, just bits and bobs we might need to wash. I'll just do that quickly, it doesn't take very long. Usually have another cup of coffee at that point, and often then I'll listen to a Dharma talk maybe, and or if I don't do that, usually I'll look at your comments and any emails I've had and reply to those. Or I'll do that in the afternoon, and then I'll, as I am doing today, make this little video, give a talk at this time. So in the morning between 9 o'clock and 2 o'clock in the afternoon, that is time just for meditation. Walking meditation, sitting meditation, practicing. It can be sometimes, like I said, listening to a Dharma talk or answering your questions and reading your comments, which is also good practice, because talking about the Dharma is very good practice as well. You're refreshing your own understanding. 2 o'clock is when we sweep. It's our official duty time, but it's only for an hour. And we have this lovely big broom, long brooms, and I have a specific area. I was sweeping all over the place as far as I could go and find, and I was starting earlier, but I was told off or admonished for that and said, no, you just sweep your area and you don't start any sooner than 2 o'clock and you finish at 3 o'clock. Okay, I thought, well, that's just sounds like delight to me, that I'm not having to do extra, I can just do the bare minimum, but well and mindfully, and enjoy it. So now I just from 2 until 3 sweep my area. At 3 it's Nampana time, when we get a drink. We officially have our drink. There's a shed where I get my coffee from, and it has some cold drinks in a box full of ice, either some Pepsi or one of these energy drinks, or some fruit juice that is strained fruit juice, so it's not food, not lumps. Certain drinks we can have, or iced tea, something like that. So I usually have one of those and a cup of coffee, another coffee. That'd be my third cup of coffee if you're keeping count. Then what happens? This is why I needed my list, because I lose track of where I've got to. Nampana 3 o'clock. 3:30 then is shower time, so bathing time. In the little washroom I have down there, there's a bucket which you fill with water, a big pot thing, and you just chuck the water over you. There's no need to explain further than that. And at 4 o'clock it is our chanting time. So we walk up, we put our robes on. We do that when we get there actually. We walk up to the main temple at the top of the mountain. The sala's down there, bottom of the mountain, well, the middle part. The beach is at the bottom, and we're halfway between the sala and the temple. And we go to the temple for chanting and a little meditation, and that takes about an hour. So 4 until 5. And then from 5 I have then really, well, until the following morning, but I call it another 5 hours, which is when I normally make this talk, or if I've made the talk in the morning, we'll go through your comments and reply to them and emails at that time. So that is when I am able to have another 5 hours for practice. So even not including the hour or so meditation first thing in the morning that I have when I wake up, because I wake up before a couple of hours before I need to do anything, for at least an hour's meditation. I like to have at least an hour's meditation before I do anything. So that's why I'm up earlier than I need to be. I could wait until the bell rings at 4, but that wouldn't really give me time for anything, any emergencies or things I need to deal with before going off to the sala for being ready to go on alms round. So I like to be up early to have an hour's meditation. But then I've got these 2 5-hour periods of the day when I can very easily fit in 2 3-hour meditation sessions, and that's what I do. That's the very minimum. So I have 2 3-hour, one in the morning for any time between 9 and 2, and one in the afternoon any time between 5 and, how does that work out, 10 o'clock, where normally I would probably be looking to go to sleep at 10 o'clock. In some monasteries on the Uposita, full moon and new moon, you stay up all night. But they don't really practice that here by getting together in the temple for that. So whether they do it or not, the other 2 monks, I don't know. And since I've been here, I've not been doing that. I was doing it for many years before I came here. But I do find there's a lot of walking and it's not the right word to say, activity. My meditation practice is quite intense, and yeah, I suppose there is quite a bit of walking. Well, I used to walk a lot before. I think it's just being in a community. I feel that since I've been here, I've not wanted to sit up all night, put it that way, because I feel I wouldn't be quite as alert as I feel I should be the following day. So as I only have, what is that, 3, 4, 5, 5 or 6 hours sleep anyway, it's really 4 or 5 hours sleep anyway, each night. I don't practice nisichik, which is what we call sitters practice, staying up all night. And that's the end of my day, and in the morning at 3 a.m. I wake up again. Each and every day is the same. Today is Wanpra again, which is mini Wanpra or little Wanpra, where it's the half moon. So there are 4 Wanpras a month. And even though it's Monday, it seems like a Sunday, because lots of lay people came to the sala this morning with offerings. There were more flowers and more offerings in the village and in the town this morning. So from that I know it's Wanpra. And I also heard the Ajahn say Wanpra when he was giving his talk. And that tells me that's another week gone by. So this lunar calendar is my calendar. And the sun rising at around 5:30, 5:45 is dawn. When you can see the lines on your hand in natural light, that is what we call dawn. That is the beginning of the monk's day. This is the earliest we can eat and the earliest we're allowed to go on alms round. So we can set off just about before dawn in order that when we get into an area of civilization, any people, it is just beginning to be light. This is to stop us scaring people. We're not allowed to walk around at night, you see. So we observe that. That's our clock. So the sun rising is our clock. Midday, it's at the limit to when we can eat, between dawn and midday. No more solid food after that. And then at sunset, at around 6:30, 5:45, when I'm often making these videos, you see it gets dark. This is our time to settle in for the evening and practice meditation. I don't need to have any alarms, set any other times. I do need to keep an eye on the time to know when to start sweeping, but even that I've not had to do because I can hear some other sweeping going on. I can usually hear, but I have to be a bit careful just in case that person didn't start. So that's my day, and it's fairly simple. In your day you have a lot more to deal with, but it doesn't mean that you can expand your day just a little and incorporate a little meditation at the beginning of your day and a little meditation at the end of your day. And really you should, at the very minimum, be trying to practice 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the afternoon if you're interested in developing if you're interested in progressing on this path towards enlightenment. And this is really the point of watching these videos. So if you're watching this video and you've watched it this far, then you've committed to listening to me talking about my pretty mundane routine of a day, not necessarily to hear just each and every word I'm saying, taking note of that like an educational process, but to hear what I'm not saying, to share my experience of how little is essential in our lives for us to do. The bare minimum we can get away with to survive comfortably and practice to the maximum of our efforts. But incorporating that into your own day is a little more complicated, but there are many things you do that you can put aside, no longer do, even for a trial period, and see how you get on. And my suggestion was going to be, as you'll be seeing this video on Tuesday, now wherever you are in the world, it goes available, it becomes on this time here, Tuesday at 6 p.m, which is in the west early in the morning, and in the east late at night. So really at either end of Tuesday this video is available, and it doesn't matter, you could start this any day, but I was going to suggest you should try for 3 days to do this practice of 20 minutes and no less meditation in the morning. If you don't have time, wake up half an hour, that's all, half an hour later, and go to sleep half an hour later. Just that, half an hour. That is only 1 hour's less sleep, just for 3 days. Now ideally this would be for 7 days, but we're going to approach this in manageable bits and see how we get on together in order to try and become enlightened. Because enlightenment seems to become, and seems to have become, from the Dharma talks I hear these days, very often, from very senior and monastics, a word that's shied away from. Something that seems to be, oh, it's a pipe dream, it's really quite unattainable. And yes, there are arahants, but they're so very special. And I wonder, we go to this effort, or not effort, let's say, this radical change in our lives of ordination and becoming monks to become free from suffering in this lifetime, but never say, oh, well, we want to become enlightened. Well, I want to become enlightened. You should want to become enlightened. We should all want to become enlightened like the Buddha, become arahants. And if we don't want to, then we won't be trying very hard. If we think that's for another lifetime, and all we can do this lifetime is chanting and praying and studying and gaining merits by all of these very meritorious, wonderful activities, yes, but if we're not doing the practice, which is mainly not doing, then we will not be getting anywhere in this lifetime. We're just creating more to do, more complexity, less simplicity, and obstacles in the way of enlightenment. So it's not about adding things in, it's about stripping things away. And how we strip things away, which is why I bored you with that routine, is by having a routine and having it always the same and keeping it simple. And even if the rest of your life is always different and different things happen each day, you have a family to deal with, a social life, a business life, part of your day you can keep to yourself. I mean, you clean your teeth at the same time roughly every day and nobody interferes with that. You go to the toilet. There's all sorts of activities you have private that are your own. Your practice is that too. It's your own. It's private. We have communal practice too as well. But the core practice is for your benefit, for your own enlightenment. So make this determination, if you want to, and I'm going to help you with this, each day to do no less than 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the evenings meditation. If you're already doing more, add that to it. But if you're already doing that and you're simply in the morning sitting and going back to sleep, but because you were sitting felt it was meditation, or if in the evening you're just sitting and thinking about your day and unwinding, and you're calling that meditation, no, that is sitting and going back to sleep, and that is sitting and thinking about your day and unwinding. That is not meditation. If you're not sitting and watching the breath for that 20 minutes, remember that if you can't and you haven't got time to start again, remember next time that this is the determination you must make to leave the past in the past and the future in the future, and to just watch the breath as you breathe in and breathe out for this period of meditation, just this 20 minutes. That's the first thing. So it's really getting up just a little early or going to sleep a little later, but then not doing anything, just sitting and watching the breath. The next thing is for just this 3 days, keep the 5 precepts. Now I appreciate it's Tuesday, Friday is coming along and will interfere maybe if you like to go out and have a drink on Fridays, something like that. Well, then maybe you're going to have to cut that 3 days a bit short, or maybe you can forego that just this once, or just start this next Tuesday, do it another time. But this 3 days you should try, and you may say, oh well, I'm already keeping the 5 precepts, but I mean absolutely keep the 5 precepts. If someone calls the office and I want to speak to your boss, please, can I speak to him? And you speak to the boss and he says, I'm not in, something like that. You don't go back to the person and say he's not in when you know he is. You say, I'm sorry, he's not available at the moment, can I take a message? Okay, so you haven't lied. It's that literal. These 5 precepts, this is important, remember. The Buddha said you can be enlightened in 7 days. And this is what I'm aiming towards. You practicing towards being able yourself to become enlightened, not shying away from this goal, this word. What is enlightenment? It's just seeing the truth. Be wary of these people say, oh, I've experienced enlightenment. It's not an experience, it's a state. It's like saying, that is like saying, I've experienced death. Well, you haven't, you'd be dead if you'd experienced death. It's like that. Once you're enlightened, it's it. You've seen the truth. And that is what enlightenment is. Enlightened to the truth of existence. That deep understanding. Awakenness. Awoken to reality, the truth. And the only way you experience and understand this and become enlightened is through sila, samadhi, panya. Moral virtue, meditation and wisdom. So, meditation in the morning, and then you must keep these 5 precepts. So, no harm, not even one mosquito like that. This is your intention. No killing. I said no harm then, but I'm being literal. Just no killing anything intentionally. If you accidentally tread on an ant, that doesn't matter. So that's quite easy, that one, isn't it? None of you watching this probably ever go around killing things intentionally. The next one. Don't even steal. Okay, so there's no stealing. Do not take anything that isn't given to you, or you've bought, or you're allowed to have in your case. For us monks, it has to be literally offered to us with 2 hands. Not even a paperclip from work, not even a pencil or a pen. If you need a paperclip from work or a pencil or a pen, just ask someone, is it okay if I take this? They might look at you a bit blankly and say, well, yeah, everyone does, but it doesn't matter. Do that. Even if it makes you look funny, even if the boss tells you off for not saying he wasn't in, you didn't lie. You know you did the right thing. Thirdly, refrain from sexual misconduct. If you're in a relationship, remain faithful. If you're not, make sure your relationships are mutually agreeable and with respectful. That's as simple as that. There's nothing really restrictive about it. It's anything goes with the 3rd precept, as long as all parties are in agreement and happy with the situation. You could have 15 wives if you want, 15 girlfriends, as long as they were all happy with that. It's not a problem. Or the other way around if you're a lady. So you can be gay, straight, anything, it doesn't matter. As long as every involved party is 100% in agreement and mutually benefiting from it with you. Okay? That is the refraining from sexual misconduct. Okay? And then the 4th one is no lying, which I've already just spoken about, haven't I, with the boss at work. So no killing, stealing, sexual misconduct or lying. And then finally, no intoxicants. And I know I have 3 actually, because there's in that, I've probably missed out a couple of coffees there in that routine, but I know I have 3 or 4 cups of coffee a day, but they're not intoxicants. Coffee is not an intoxicant. I'm not just saying that because I like coffee, right? I am legally allowed to drive a car. I'm not allowed as a monk because monks don't drive cars, but I still have a driving license on the roads in the UK, having drunk as much coffee or even smoked cigarettes if I was a smoker, and I used to be, but I'm not, and haven't been for a long time, with no legal implications. So it doesn't, it's because coffee is okay, maybe a stimulant to keep you awake, and nicotine is a stimulant that keeps you awake, but having drunk coffee or smoked cigarettes, you can pilot an aeroplane with 800 or 1,000 passengers, drive a coach with 150 passengers, and you're not breaking the law. But a couple of glasses of whiskey, a few beers, or marijuana joint or something like that, then you are breaking the law, full stop. Driving, flying an aeroplane, driving a coach, you couldn't perform brain surgery satisfactorily. This is the difference, yes? So before you all write in, but you drink coffee. Oh, don't go there. It's an argument, a debate I've had so many times and I don't understand it. Yeah, coffee might be bad for you. But it isn't something that dulls the mind. It isn't something that makes you heedless. So do things you wouldn't ordinarily do. The reason people drink alcohol or perhaps smoke marijuana is to get a false sense of relaxation, in that it helps them let go of their inhibitions and feel less anxious, feel freer to do things they wouldn't ordinarily do. Well, of course, that is what this practice is doing. It's aiming towards freedom from those attachments and from those inhibitions, anxiety and suffering, without intoxication. The odd glass of wine, people say, is that okay? No, because one leads to another, but even one, you will not be able to develop satisfactory or right samadhi if you have taken any intoxicants. So for just this 3 days, fifth precept, no intoxicants. And that's it. It's just a case of refraining from 5 things, actions of body, speech and mind, which are either harmful to you, other people, or both. And then wisdom. You need do nothing more except listen to these talks for the next few days. Email me with any obstacles that get in your way of this practice so that we can address the situation and work a way around it immediately. I will reply or put it in the comments. Then wisdom will naturally develop. Now 3 days of this isn't quite enough to become enlightened, but then you can perhaps extend it. This road is long and there are mountains in your way, but step by step you'll get there each and every day. That's a song which you may recognize. Weirdly enough, that lyric just came into my head on Arms Round this morning. I don't know why. But join me in this next 3 days of that simple practice, a little meditation, keeping those 5 precepts. And you will eventually be able to become enlightened as lay people, and us as monks. Some of you may already be. Some of us may already be. If you are, you wouldn't talk about it. It doesn't stop you still listening to Dharma because it's enjoyable. It doesn't stop you practicing because it's enjoyable. Just because you become an arahant doesn't mean that's the end of your practice, because the practice is so enjoyable, and even more so when you are fully liberated. So it doesn't end there. You don't have to then just say that's annihilation. You can still continue with your life as an enlightened being, as the Buddha did. He taught for 45 years. A very busy man in that respect, because he enjoyed it. So you can enjoy your practice towards enlightenment, and you can enjoy your practice and life after enlightenment. But let's not be shy about enlightenment and making it some kind of mystical, I don't know, what's the word? Unachievable thing. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. You probably know as monks we're not allowed to discuss any of our attainments in that respect, other than with our other brother monks or senior monks or teachers, whom will look at what we're saying and analyse it, but generally these conversations don't happen so much. I've never had one. And you just get on and enjoy your practice. And progress can be slow, can be fast, can be steady, can be erratic. There's no predicting it. But if you put the ingredients in, you will get the results. And the Buddha made that emphatic statement that if you do this for 7 days, Sila Samadhi Panya, practicing mindfulness, you will attain to enlightenment. That was though on the basis of meditating all day every day, even more than my 6 to 9 hours a day of meditation that I'm doing. So really throwing yourself into the work. But with this little bit of this experience that you will get over this next 3 days, then you will get enough of a taste for it to want to do that, even to the extent you'll want to maybe go on a retreat or just take some time off work and stay at home and meditate each and every day for the whole day to become enlightened and then really get on and experience life as it can be experienced. So I should stop there because I'm sure that's time up. Oh, I didn't look again, did I? And I hope that if you can start this either today or tomorrow for the next 3 days, if you have any obstacles or problems either with the meditation or with the keeping of the 5 precepts or any other related questions, actually with any other questions whatsoever, then please you email me or send a comment. If you want it to be between just you and me, email. If it's for public consumption, comments. But about your practice, I suggest you email, and then I can reply quickly, directly to you. And I will make a determination to endeavour to do that as quickly as possible over this next 3 days in order to help you with this practice. So let's give it a go. Let's try that together. And if you do that, what I can promise you is that you will feel different after 3 days. And also you will want to continue with that longer, because it does have an immediate effect. Not something you can identify each and every day, but after 3 days you'll look back and think, yes, that was worth doing. I might do it for another couple of days. And let's see what happens. I hope you can join me with that, and I wish you the very best, with many blessings, that your practice will be fruitful and enjoyable on this happy path to Nibbana.